Awkward question for you. If you happen to have a Johnson, what would you do if you happened to wake up one morning without it? You heard me right. This one kinda took me by surprise too. This is 2014's Bad Johnson. This should be fun. Spoiler alert, while I might be giving you my opinion on the film, that's no substitute for watching it for yourself. Links to the film are in the description. And for those of you that need to hear this is just a movie. All stunts are for the sake of story and shouldn't be attempted on your own. No animals were harmed in the making of this film. Viewer discretion is advised. We start off with Rich getting it on with a woman in her room. But just then her sister Melissa walks in to find out that he's actually going at it with her sister. Rich tries to apologize to Melissa right there, but her mother jumps in. Rich grabs his things and makes his way out, and he heads to the gym to tell the story to Josh. Rich swears that he actually had feelings for Melissa, but Josh doesn't understand why he just keeps messing up good things. This is actually the third relationship his sexual encounters have ruined in the year. That night, they head to the club, and Rich keeps coming up with excuses to why his Johnson is actually what keeps getting him in trouble. Josh explains that he should just have better control, and Rich keeps trying to prove his own point. When he spots a beautiful woman at the bar, he heads straight over and he introduces himself to Carrie. Where he messes up is the fact that he had already actually gotten it on with her. Carrie actually knees him in the groin so hard that his nuts go up into his stomach, not just a little bit out of place. He goes to the doctor and she tells him that they're way up there. I didn't even know they could travel that far without popping or disconnecting. The doctor tells him to keep from having relations for 6 weeks, and Rich heads to the pharmacy where he meets Jamie. Rich wastes no time in putting the moves on Jamie, but she has no problem with it. She agrees to a date, and a week later, Rich is coming over to her place to drink some red wine. 2 weeks later, they're playing video games on her couch, and 3 weeks later, they're smoking it up and eating popcorn. Week 4 comes in, they're snuggling on her couch drinking Slurpees, and by week 6, Rich is calling Jamie to tell her that he's ready to get it on. As he backs his car up, he ends up hitting another woman's car, and he gets out to look at the damage. At first, things seem to be pretty normal, but things quickly take a turn when the woman starts coming on to him. When she talks about doing a favor for him in her SUV, he can't help but take her up on it. I'm sorry, he's got Jamie at home and he's been waiting 6 weeks for today. Jamie, when you've got a Jamie at home waiting, you don't take the nameless character in the back of an SUV. When Rich gets to Jamie's, he tries to move on to dinner, but Jamie wants to get right down to it. When she whips his Johnson out, she notices some teeth marks, and she asks him if anything happened. He tells her that there was nothing that he could recall, and he blames the car accident. After Jamie finds a hair down there and a press-on nail in his hair, she kicks Rich out and tells him to never come back. Later, he goes to the bar with Josh, and he can't believe that Rich messed up yet again. After hearing Rich's excuses, Josh tells him about a post that Melissa made that stated a lot of Rich's dirt. When Rich goes home, he checks the website, and he sees that quite a few people have posted on the site about how his Johnson has ruined even more people's lives. Then we come to the turning point. Rich wishes that his Johnson would just leave him alone. Don't do that. I don't care what you believe. You don't risk your Johnson like that. What if something out there actually listens and answers you? That's what happens here. In the morning, Rich wakes up and goes to the bathroom, but there's nothing there. After screaming horribly, Rich gets a collect call from his Johnson. That's right, his Johnson. After hearing some information that only his Johnson would know, Rich drives to an alley to pick him up. Rich gets Johnson home and they try to brainstorm why the universe decided to listen to him the night before. When Rich asks if he knows how to get them back together, Johnson makes it very clear that he has no idea. So Rich heads to work to show Josh what's going on. When Rich takes his pants down to show Josh his lack of anything, Josh's pure panic scream is an appropriate response. I can't think of any other way that I'd react either. Josh tries to piece things together, but he doesn't seem to be much help. They head back to Rich's apartment, and they find that Johnson has already ordered an escort to pleasure him. Rich asks the escort to leave, and he tells Johnson that if he's going to be staying, he's going to have to control himself. The three of them try to perform candlelit rituals to reattach the two, and they even try every possible good luck charm. After no luck, Rich heads to work, and he ends up doing his first assessment for Lindsay. His new I don't care attitude kind of puts her off, but she still buys sessions from him. When Rich gets home that night, he finds Josh playing video games with his Johnson and smoking weed. While Johnson is getting it on with whoever he wants, Rich is trying to come up with a good temporary replacement. It doesn't work. Rich and Josh watch Johnson pick up a random mom in the grocery store, and Rich tries to come up with a possible way for him to correct things in the universe. After some brainstorming, he realizes that a good possibility is to try and make things right with Jamie. When he gets to Jamie's apartment, he finds that she's already picked up a brand new guy. Rich tries to explain that he wants another chance, but Jamie makes it very clear that she's enjoying her personal time with her new airhead boyfriend. After saying goodbye, Rich goes to coach Lindsay for a session, and he tries to ask her out. She politely explains that his player attitude just doesn't match her type, and he heads out to give his Johnson a ride. That's gotta be awkward too. Imagine not being able to get it on, but you're essentially your own Johnson's Uber ride to his hookups. Also, I don't think I've ever said the word Johnson this much in my whole life. The word's getting weird. I don't think I'll ever say it again after watching this movie. On the way to the hookup, Rich tells him that he has to start paying rent, and the next day, Johnson heads out to try and find himself a job. He quickly gives up and heads to the strip club with Josh. While there, Josh finds out that Johnson is stealing money from Rich. When Josh tries to leave to go home to his partner, Johnson makes him start to question his relationship. Just then, a stripper comes over, and she tries to put the moves on Josh. Josh tries to stay loyal to his girlfriend, but Johnson and the stripper keep putting the moves on him. When Josh manages to stay true, he finds out that Johnson set this all up, and he leaves and goes to tell Rich about what happened. When Rich gets home that day, he hears Johnson getting it on with yet another girl, and he goes through his mail to find that Johnson's racked up a credit card bill of over $30,000. He heads upstairs and interrupts Johnson to kick him out, and he still blames him for all the troubles in his life. While these two guys are talking about the weird history of their partnership, this poor girl's lying on the bed wondering why Johnson's talking about all these times that he was in Rich's pants. Later, Rich talks to Josh, and Josh tries to explain to him that he can finally lead a life without the drama that comes with a Johnson. By the end of the conversation, Rich realizes that he might just be right, and he goes through his apartment to get rid of all of the sexual items. He goes out to start enjoying his life without the drama, and everyone starts to notice a different Rich. When he goes to train Lindsay, she assumes that he found a woman that made him change the way he sees things, but he assures her that he's just in a better mindset than he's ever been in. As a way to celebrate, she offers to go out for drinks the next day. When they meet up, they end up having a great time. Elsewhere in town, Johnson's hopping into a random guy's car to give him relationship advice. Johnson's out here campaigning for this guy to get his own Johnson some action. If you were thinking you knew what came next, I'm gonna guess you're wrong. He steals the car, obviously. Back at the bar, Rich and Lindsay help each other get over their tragic histories of cheating exes. And on the walk afterwards, the two of them share a magical moment where they hold each other and kiss passionately. Meanwhile, Johnson ends up going limp with his own visitor. The next day, Johnson drives around looking for Rich, and he finds Josh. He tries to get Josh to tell him if Rich is falling in love with someone, but he hits him way too hard. Instead, he ends up spotting Rich kissing Lindsay outside, and he feels the draining feeling again. When Josh tells Rich that Johnson can sense this, Rich thinks that it's a good idea that he's losing power. Later on, he runs by the water with Lindsay, and he tells her that he has a surprise for her. The surprise is to kiss in the rain, and it works way better than it should have. The two of them head back to her apartment, and I'm over here wondering what Rich is going to do about this. Sure enough, Rich stops her from pulling his pants off, and he tells her that he wants to take things slow. He ends up walking out, and the next morning, Lindsay meets up with her best friend to talk about what might have happened. Just then, Johnson pops up, and he starts putting moves on Lindsay. He actually manages to come across as a thoughtful man, and by the end of the conversation, he manages to get Lindsay to agree to see him later. Elsewhere, Rich goes for a jog while he tries to figure out how to word his explanation to Lindsay, but he gets a call from Johnson. Johnson invites him to dinner the next night, and he assures him that he's got something he's going to want to see. The next night, Johnson and Lindsay go to dinner, but when Johnson goes to the bathroom, Rich shows up and sees the two of them together. This is the absolutely worst way for this to happen. Rich has no possible explanation for this, and wow, Johnson actually got a staff member to pants Rich. Rich rushes out of the restaurant, and Lindsay can't believe what she just saw. After dinner, Johnson drops her off at her apartment, and he tries to come on to her. She questions why the worker decided to just pull his pants down, and Johnson just tries to play it off as all restaurant workers have a sixth sense about things. Before she leaves, she asks him to go to her sister's wedding with her this weekend, but she won't kiss him goodbye. The next day, Rich tries to call Lindsay, but he ends up getting no answer. Lindsay's with her best friend, and she holds Lindsay's phone hostage. Meanwhile, Johnson calls Rich to talk crap, and he tells him to stop looking for love. Just to show how bad Johnson is, he finds a poster for a missing dog, calls the number, tells them that he found the dog, and then he tells them that he was just kidding. Who's heartless enough to do that? At the wedding, Johnson and Lindsay seem to be having a great time, and Rich and Josh sneak in to crash the wedding. It turns out that Josh has a bottle of prescription pills that he gives Rich. On the dance floor, Johnson makes eyes with a random girl, and he heads off to have some private time with her. Meanwhile, Rich asks one of the servers to hand Lindsay a note to meet him privately, but the server isn't having any of this. After the servers tell Rich that he's better off just leaving, Rich tries his luck with another server who really doesn't care one way or another. Lindsay reads the note, and she immediately heads to the statue to meet him. When Rich pops out, Lindsay gets a little worried, but Rich takes her to see what Johnson's doing. It turns out that the blonde is actually Josh's girlfriend, and Rich set the whole thing up. Suddenly, Johnson punches Rich and snatches up Lindsay. He takes her all the way to the hotel across the street, and they head upstairs. He takes her all the way to the top of the building, and Rich meets them there. Rich knows that Johnson's getting weaker, and now the truth comes out to Lindsay. She's definitely thrown off by finding out what Johnson really is. But after finding out about how Rich actually cheated on the girl that cheated on him, it kind of becomes clear for her. Rich finally stands up to his Johnson, and he takes the blame for all of his lack of self-control. When Rich says that he's there to protect Lindsay from him, the two of them actually have a little showdown, and Rich pulls out the prescriptions. They happen to be for erectile dysfunction, and after he takes all of them, Johnson gets really pumped up. He manages to put Rich down, and he carries Lindsay to the edge of the roof. Finally, Rich snatches Lindsay out of his grasp, and Johnson starts to stiffen up. Then the emergency services show up, and they take Johnson away on a stretcher. Lindsay thanks Rich for saving her, and he takes this time to tell her that he wants to make things right. She agrees that she wants to be with him too, but something strange happens next. Johnson literally disappears, and Rich gets a raging boner. Watching his pants rise with CGI really looks cheesy. I still can't believe I'm saying that about a movie that has a human Johnson stiffening up from pills, but here I am. Rich tells Lindsay that he can't promise not to look at others, but he does promise to be good and not act on anything. Then, the credits roll. And that's a happy ending? That's one of those things that you know people do, but you don't really want to hear your significant other admitting that. Either way, this was a fun film. It's not going to win Comedy of the Year, but it's worth a watch. Give it a shot. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this one. Comment what you think I should watch next, and I'll see you in the next video.